Stuart Eisenstadt of the Holocaust Memorial Museum says the Ukrainian people certainly won't buy Putin's claims of Nazism and genocide, and he doesn't think the Russian people will buy it either.
Questions about your finances?
Really?
Can you guys give me a little space, please?
A little personal space?
Why won't you answer our questions?
Congressman, you seem to be...
Greetings to all. Now, our regular press briefings and regular meetings here at the embassy. And thank you that on Saturday afternoon you are following closely what happens in Ukraine.
Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Y en estos momentos tengo a la congresista Cortés de Ocasio-Cortez.
Do you worry about people down in Florida, these candidates playing political ads in the middle of this crisis? Do you think they should suspend?
Well, that's up to the candidates. We've had a couple of hurricanes, as you know, in Louisiana.
I'm feeling good about it. You know, if the election were today, I think we retain control, but 4 weeks is 4 weeks. So we're all working hard, and I never take anything for granted.
The concessions would have to be extremely.
Feeling about today's vote?
I don't know yet.
What's it going to take, Mr. Critchlow?
I got to get a roll call.
And I believe that with this small majority that we have, that when Kevin McCarthy is our speaker, he's going to understand that any legislation that we're going to try to get through the House in the next 2 years is going to need some overwhelming support and endorsement, pretty much, from the Freedom Caucus.
At this point, do you believe it's time for Kevin McCarthy to step aside?
I don't think we're there at this point. I think there's a lot of members in the chamber who want to have serious conversations about how we can bring this all, to a close and elect a speaker.
Kira, although McCarthy made some progress towards swaying some of those that are against him last night, he has done so by making the kind of concessions that will guarantee that even if he gets elected speaker, he will be the weakest speaker in modern history.
I think we're in a very interesting economic time, and I don't think that a recovery that we're used to coming out of a recession or going into a recession is compatible to what we're experiencing today.
Pardon me. I will be addressing the media soon.
When is soon? Your time. You're representing the people of New York.
Well, there's not much doubt that the Fed is going to be raising interest rates today, and the bet on Wall Street is 25 basis points. They talked a lot about it before going into their quiet period, the idea that they want to scale back a little bit so that they can make sure of what is actually going on in the economy and not push it into recession.
Following the president's speech tonight, newly elected Arkansas governor and former White House press secretary for Donald Trump, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, will be delivering the Republican response. Ike Ajaji, ABC News, Capitol Hill.
But ultimately, Diane, this is in the hands of Senate Democrats. If just 8 break and join with Republicans on a funding vote today, or those that might come over the weekend, if it fails today or next week, that would fund the government fully. We've got 3. We're watching for additional Democratic defections later today.
So listen, this is a moment where we have to show some backbone and stand up for our democracy and stand up for the people in our states who are getting screwed by Donald Trump's premium increases.
Listen, I don't control that, and I don't control any of it. This is what's frustrating here. But I'm just telling you that this is the course that the Democrats have chosen, and federal workers are affected absolutely. Our military service members, they're not going to get paid. But beyond all of that, we've got millions of Americans who are not going to be able to get any of the services that they need. I mean, it's not good.
Well, John Thune, the top Republican in the Senate, is actually speaking alongside Speaker Mike Johnson just down the hallway from me, has made it clear that he wants to hold vote after vote after vote on any temporary government funding legislation to force, as he says, Democrats to take tough political votes. But
Well, I like what came out of Davos and the fact that the president was able to negotiate what seems to be a happy ending for everybody.
We're now hearing from Brendan Banfield in his own defense, his version of how his wife and another man wound up dead in the Banfield's home.
El aborto a nivel federal. Esta la restringe mucho más, no acepta aborto en casos de incesto, violación, etc.
Lo que entonces pasaría sería al Congreso. Ya por lo menos hay un proyecto de ley que se está estudiando en la Cámara de Representantes y le tocaría entonces al Senado.
I had protesters out in front of my home in South Carolina disrupting the neighborhood. I got a lot of neighbors with young kids, so this is not the way to conduct democracy.
Well, Trevor, the Pentagon is saying essentially that it is standard operating procedure to erase the phones of an employee once that employee stops working for the Department of Defense.
Lindsay, the Trump team has asked for that special master. That's an individual who would be appointed by the court to review the documents seized by the FBI. And the judge in this case came back very quickly with the request for clarification, elaboration on what the Trump team is actually doing here.
And David, if the judge does ultimately decide to appoint a special master, that won't erase the fact that the FBI seized 11 sets of highly classified information from the former president's home. And that's on top of 184 classified documents that Team Trump turned over in January.
The last government shutdown, we all applied for unemployment, but by the time we applied for the unemployment, we were back at work. And so we never got the unemployment, so we had to go without, So it impacts a lot of us.
David, there are at least 7 Republican holdouts. Remember, McCarthy can only afford to lose 4. At this point, the only clear way to avert a government shutdown would be to pass a short-term spending bill. Those far-right conservatives in the House say they will not support that, and they insist if McCarthy tries to go around them and work with Democrats, they'll try to oust him as Speaker.
The university canceled all classes today. The governor says he's keeping in close contact with officials on the ground as this investigation continues. Em Nguyen, ABC News at Morgan State University in Baltimore.
Good morning, Rebecca. This critical report is expected to show that the breakneck pace of hiring in the economy is slowing down, but the overall jobs market is still remarkably resilient.
Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Tam. Yeah, outside the courthouse, it certainly is tight security. This is the 3rd indictment against the former president as he seeks a new term in the White House.
On the other side of this, anti-abortion rights groups are celebrating this decision, insisting that it protects the lives of countless unborn children. The justices in Arizona have now put this ruling on hold for 14 days, so abortion clinics in that state tell us that they still plan to continue to provide their services for a short period of time, George.
No doubt you've heard about the coronavirus and you're concerned about it. Will it spread to your neighborhood? We want to knock down all the myths and get right to the facts. And to do that, here in Washington, D.C., we've come over to PAHO, better known as the Pan American Health Organization, which is the regional office for the WHO, the World Health Organization.
My career in the Congress has been one of the most inspiring opportunities.
Welcome to Cure America. I'm Star Parker. And 20 years ago, after the terrorist attack on our nation on September 11th, President George W. Bush took to the airways to address the American people.
I'm so pleased to be with the Executive Director of ASALH, Sylvia Cyrus.
Thank you. We're delighted to be here today.
And of course, this has been broadcast on the new Black News Channel, so people across the United States are going to be here.
That resolution adopted last year by the Utah legislature outlining why pornography should be viewed as a public health problem, as well as some of the latest research.
Members will see who comes forward to say what. I support it. I'm not encouraging it, but I certainly support what they are doing. And I think, quite frankly, there's nothing they could say in there that would be an overstatement of the reasons why we should have a fuller discussion.
There's more than one discourse going on, and the one people recognize is the day-to-day discourse of politics. There is a deeper cultural discourse of art and symbolism. And while I don't know exactly what inspired the Washington Post to highlight that, they may have thought I was turning to Afro-nationalism.
Thank you, Leader. I want to thank the leadership for the warm hospitality today. I had the privilege this morning of speaking to the House Republican Conference.
You told the president I would see what we could do. What did you mean?
And I think in all these circumstances was the deputy director, my chief of staff, the general counsel, the deputy directors.